Well, I am proud owner of 4 Philips 175 watt frosted mercury vapor bulbs. Just got them in the mail the other day. Also grabbed myself a 175 watt ballast, although I thought I was going to be the proud owner of 4 clear 175 watt mercury vapors. They didn't list what it was in the description, and in the picture of the light on Amazon was showing a clear Philips mercury, not a frosted. So I was slightly bummed about that, but you know what? These are awesome too. Hopefully I'll find more clear ones someday. I do still have this clear guy here. I bought this thing probably about a year ago now. I found it in co-op. It was the last one on the shelf, so I grabbed it, even though I didn't have a 175 watt ballast. I figured I darn well would someday. I had got this 150 watt high pressure sodium fixture out of the scrapyard sometime during the summer, and she's got an absolutely cooked transformer on it. I would normally try to keep stuff original, but in this case, you know, she's a little beat up. And the original ballast is cooked anyways, so I do have plenty of 150 and 100 watt high pressure sodium ballasts to put in this thing. But I think I'm going to designate this one to be my 175 watt mercury vapor light. I would have converted a little light like that. I got a couple of them. But the ballast that I got is a triple tap, so it's pretty large. And it also needs a capacitor, so I don't think we're going to be able to fit all that into one of them lights. So this one it is. I already have a 100 watt version and a 150 watt version just like this that I can keep original. This one I think I'm going to... Plus it's not a big deal. I can easily change it back someday if I want. Only thing, this $50 ballast never came with a capacitor. I guess that's what you get when you buy the cheapest one on the site. So I started digging over in the other shed and I found this 10 microfarad capacitor, which is what this transformer calls for, out of a 100 watt high pressure sodium ballast. Except I didn't notice till I brought it in here that it's only a 300 volt max. And our ballast here calls for a 400 volt minimum. I have a chart saved on my phone of what the voltages of the various HID lights run at. And a 175 watt at its maximum is usually running around 280. And that's only 10 volts below this one's maximum voltage, so I guess it's usually good practice to run a capacitor that can handle at least twice as much voltage that's going to be fed through it. So although it would probably work for testing purposes, I don't know, this one might not be the best option. Plus it's only putting out 9 microfarad. I don't know if that's within tolerance or not. It's probably on the very low end of the tolerance. So I went digging around again and I found another one. This is actually off of a direct drive barrel fan. 10 microfarad, and she's a 370 volt. Tiny bit lower than what the ballast is saying we should put on it, but it's still plenty higher than the average maximum running voltage of one of these lights, so I think it's going to be fine. I guess to start off we're going to loosen that clamp and remove 2 screws that hold that bracket deal holding down the transformer and pop off a couple of wires. I'll update you when I get that figured out. I know, you guys are probably just jumping at the bit to see that old Evergo Industrial come back to life, but that's going to be a big project. I need to amp myself up by doing a little project first. Plus, I would kind of like to use this shed and this table to do that project on, and I need to sort and put away all of my acquisitions from over the summer before this shed's even close to usable. And we'll be able to clean that chimney and fire up the stove, and then we're ready for an Evergo Industrial rehab. Since we're going to be looking at the wiring diagram for this thing, we're not going to be copying the wiring for that thing. But anyways, here she is. This is actually not the original igniter from this fixture. This is from my older 100 watt high pressure sodium light. That's the same style as this. It just give up the ghost one day, so I robbed the igniter from this light. Here's our capacitor. We got some values on it. We could definitely read that if we really wanted to, but we're not gonna because we don't need to. But yeah, here is this transformer. Look at that thing. Looks like she had a complete meltdown. Both sides of this thing, nice and cooked. And I actually did try this light when I first got it, and I even opened the cover, but I didn't notice that everything was all burnt here. I just thought, okay, it's time to plug in. Nothing happened. All you could hear was the igniter kind of making its tiny little pulsing sound that it makes, but no hum, and the light didn't function. Then upon closer inspection, I found all this. Wonder what kind of noise and smoke show this thing made, eh? Looks like she didn't kick the breaker right away. If it did at all, because this thing just sat there and cooked. Actually, if you look, the windings look all right on this side, just this cover stuff is all melted. The windings definitely look hotter. There. Kind of looks like that's the epicenter of the failure, eh? Is right in this area. Anyways, we'll go ahead and set this off somewhere. I'll figure out if I want to actually hoard it or not. See all the nastiness everywhere around that transformer. Yeah, especially that side. Anyways, I'm going to get this new one wired in and show you what that looks like. Oh yeah, it's going to be easier than I thought. These are the two holes that it used to mount into. But you can see it's got an extra one right there. Almost as if it was for a larger transformer. It's like a perfect fit. Just got to find a bracket that'll hold that thing down. If absolutely anything, some good old all-around will get her done. Alright, well, it's a little while later. I've done some research. I think I figured it out. I got really tripped out because this transformer has two common wires. I guess I should have looked on a different one. Here's 100 watt high pressure sodium. Yeah, looks like it's the same way, isn't it? Two common wires. How did I never notice this before? Some collector I am. I started tripping out because I noticed this transformer has two common wires. And I was like, well, what do I do with that? Like, you know, usually common, you just slap it all together, you know, from what I know. But I think it's a lot more common, no pun intended, than I was thinking it was here. Like, instead of a wire going from the capacitor to this big bunch of common wires here, you've just got a separate common wire that you would hook up to your capacitor coming out of the transformer for some reason. Can somebody tell me why that's like that? Is it just so you don't have quite as many wires together? Or, because I mean, common's common, right? There shouldn't be any difference between this common and this common. Why did they need to have two wires? It seems like it's just for convenience. But regardless, now I know how to wire it. Alrighty, I believe we are hooked up. So we've got hot coming in, going up here into the photocell. Coming out of the photocell is switched power on this red, which hooks up to our orange 120 volt wire, which goes to the input side of this transformer. Of course, our other two voltage taps are just capped off. I didn't chop the wires short because of future possibilities. Then we got our output of our transformer on this black with white wire going into our capacitor, and coming out of the capacitor is a red wire that shoots up to the light socket. And coming out of the light socket we got a white wire which meets up right here. Common's coming back in and then immediately coming back out on this second common wire, which is hooked up to the white wire exiting the light. That is exactly how this diagram is telling me to do it. Well, of course, we have to look at the original diagram for the photocell part of it, but then we ignore all that. Yeah, I think she's ready to go. Even though that's the way it should be, I still can't help but be a little nervous. I don't want to hurt my brand new transformer. Don't care about the capacitor. I do care about it scaring me and popping if it were hooked up wrong, but it isn't. And I definitely don't want to hurt these precious mercury vapor bulbs. So we're gonna First, hook it up to a plug and just give her a quick blip. Does the light fire up? Does it hum excessively loud? Does it dim the lights in the whole shed a lot? Anything bad happen, we know not to proceed. Alrighty. You're ready to see a mercury vapor bulb do a bunch of unnecessary starts. Quick blip. Oh, man, every time. I always forget to put a photocell in. It won't function at all without that. Okay, now for the quick blip. Oh yeah, I'm going past quick blip. We're just letting her rock. Oh, look at that little beaut. Still just a flickering away. There, now she's stabilized. Nice and pink. Well, nothing went boom yet. We're doing good. You can see the arc tube through the phosphor a little bit there. Nice. I've officially got a 175 watt mercury vapor yard light. Just like everybody else on YouTube. Oh, look at that little unit just giving her. Just a little baby mercury. I'm used to 400 watters. Well, that was probably a good 30-second test. How's everything doing? Cold. Cold. I think we're good. Photocell. Cold. Bulb. Still cold too. There goes old bracket. Put that with that old ballast. Awesome. The last modification I want to do before hauling it outside and really testing it is I want to get rid of this bracket and just screw this light directly onto this plate up here. As you can see, it does have the screw hole provisions to do that. I believe I have a 150 watt high pressure sodium sitting around here somewhere. Well, this is a 70 watt high pressure sodium bulb, but it's the same physical size as the 150s. As you can see, it has a little smaller of a profile. So you could maybe see it wanting to be on that tall bracket, but this mercury light, man, like look, it's like hanging down there 6 inches at least. If you look right on the side, the socket actually hangs a little bit below the shroud. And since I don't have diffusers for like literally every one of my yard lights, both in storage and in use, I might as well raise that bulb up so it's a little less likely to get rain on it. Although we've never had a problem with rain damaging these light bulbs while in use during rainstorms on our yard lights over the years. So personally, I don't think it's much of a problem. At least the other yard lights, you know, the bulb's tucked up in there just a little bit. This one's just way out here in the open. Well, after jiggering around there trying to get that socket to screw onto that base, I finally give up and went ahead and modified the original bracket, chopped it way shorter. The final result of this socket being onto that plate directly is going to mean I'd have to drill new holes into it because it just wouldn't line up. But then we are going to have the issue of my wiring connections being super close to this plate here, so figured, you know what, I'll just modify the bracket, and then those connections can be out here and nice and far in the open. So I'll show you how that looks. Well, that was a lot of extra frigging around, but I think it looks a lot more proper now. I even took a few minutes and kind of straightened her out a bit, pushed out that dent. Starting to look real spiffy now. Too bad I don't have a cover for it. I used the cover from this one on that older 100 watt fixture because that one didn't have a cover for some reason. But I was thinking of just chopping a random piece of sheet metal off of something from work someday and cut it to fit that. Never know the difference. I'm going to go figure out where to hang this thing. This shed's got 4 of these big bolt hook things that go through the studs on each wall. I'm thinking if I loosen the nut in the back and kind of pound this hook in just a little bit, I should be able to hang the light on that for testing purposes. I forgot it again. trusty photocell. Guess we'll shut this old timer off. Get a little better effect. You can see we got the perfect little dark spot right here. Well, I guess technically that light is shining over here, as you can see from my shadow, but over there is quite a bit of shadow. Top of the sleds are getting a little bit of the shop yard light. Oh man, sometimes I get these just right now, and then sometimes it takes way too long. There we go. There we go. Whenever you're ready, camera. Huh. Never thought in a million years I'd be getting excited over a yard light. There, now it's like light purple now. Probably just showing up as white on the camera, but she's gonna start being white light here. It's already lighting it up pretty decent right here. It's a nice little light. I can't tell if it's done warming up yet or not. I think it's still slowly getting brighter. Yeah, it's definitely getting brighter. Yeah, it's a nice little light. You can see the light blasting all the way over here. Off into the trees. For it being so low, that's pretty darn good. But yet it's like you can look at that light bulb and it's not making you really want to squint super hard, you know, like if you look at one of those 400 watters like over there, when you're as close to it as I am with this little light, they're just too bright, man. Like you kind of squint and you can't really look at it. Not that you necessarily need to look at a yard light 24/7, but it's just a little less glary. Although in saying that, I don't have really any problem with these big lights, especially when they're up high like that. The glare isn't really much of an issue for me. LEDs, on the other hand, if they're anywhere in my peripherals at all, no matter how high up, they're just brutal, man. I like the slightly more gentle light of the old school bulbs. Yeah, for 175 watts, man, she's kicking. So you can see, it's just lighting up this whole backyard. See the light blasting out over there. It looks like for the most part it's making it up to that treehouse pretty decently. You can see my shadow. If it was the only light in the whole yard, it would be a lot more noticeable. Yeah, look at that, eh? This light's kicking butt. Yeah, she actually has a chance at competing with that shop yard light. You can still see my shadow here. Definitely the yard light from the shop is brighter at this point, but it's competing. Yeah, I could safely say she's at full brightness now. She does have just a tiny bit of a hum, a buzz. But with the cover on, it would probably be quiet enough to not even notice it if it were up on a pole. You can see that bolt, how it's hanging in there. Yeah, sounds nice and healthy. I'm going to let this thing burn for a good hour or so off camera. Well, she's been going for about an hour and a half now. Nice bright little light. Let's try the clear mercury in it now. There we go. This little guy cools off a lot faster than the 400 waters do. There she be. Looking all clear and pretty. Nice. Whoops. Point the camera at the light, bud. Look at the nice subtle glow over here. That's cool. Can't tell if this one's taking longer to warm up than the last one, because surely this isn't full brightness yet. Yeah, I can't tell if it's at full brightness yet or not. I haven't really noticed any progression in brightness in the last few minutes. But there's no way this could be full brightness. So it must just be taking a long time. I know the 400 watt GE mercury vapor bulb I put in the shop there just this year takes a long time to warm up too, especially when it was in the first week or so of its use. But even now it still takes a long time. Some bulbs just take longer to warm up than others, I guess. I wonder if I should just set this up on a tripod so we can get a bit of a time lapse of it. Look at that jerry can. Doesn't even look red at all. What do you think, darling? This camera actually shows the light a lot more than in real life. Well, a bit more anyways. Yeah, it's the next night. I fired this light up again just so I could finish talking about it. I went and passed out with the camera left on it there. It looks like it may have gotten a little brighter there after about 20 minutes, but I don't know. This is just a really dim light, like I'm telling you. It's just, you know, kind of decently bright right in this very general area. Once you get out to the log cabin or like my house, just getting a little bit of light. Again, it's a lot more pronounced on the camera because I just leave the night mode on 24/7. Come over here. You can see that light is making it up to the trees, I guess. I bet you this light would show up a lot better if there was green grass. I'm thinking anyways. Maybe this is normal for a 175 watt clear. It just, I don't know, I just don't think it is, because that other old yard light that's on the main utility pole over there that my grandpa had put up years ago, it's got a clear 400 watt mercury in it, and the shop there has a frosted 400 mercury, and they're both, when it comes to light output, they're both the same. It's just a different color, and obviously the frosted just way better color rendering. But yeah, I don't know, I mean, this is hands down not as bright as the frosted. But I guess this will conclude this video. I will say this bulb is running a lot cooler than that frosted bulb. Like this one I can easily touch. It's warm, but it's definitely not burning hot. Whereas that frosted one, I kind of wanted to let it cool before I touched it. Anyways, we'll shut her down. And that's that. I officially have a 175 watt metal halide mercury vapor light to add to the stash. Maybe I'll find a place for it someday. I kind of have all my yard lights placed out here now. I don't really feel like I gotta add anymore. But anyways, I guess I better end this video now, eh kitty? I just want to talk your guys' ear off about yard light stuff. If you made her to the end of this video, you are a champ. And you must be a bored champ, because this is probably going to be a long one. But regardless, I thank you for watching, and you just have yourself a minty awesome night. She had a complete meltdown. Thought I was all smart. They're not a real gullet. Of course the dogs are freaking out. I know the 400 watt GE. Well, darling, do you want to go outside? It's really warm out, honey. Huh? Want to come outside? Come on, honey. Hey? Come on, it's warm out. All Mom and Dad's dogs are put away for the night now. Want to come look at this light, honey?